Let's see the value of flows, in particularly QFlow, which is the capability of QRadar to inspect the payload and look for typically the first 64 bytes of every packet and look for suspicious things. So in this particular case, we're going to detect that a phone that has been jailbroken is connected into the corporate network. As you know, QRadar can easily get event from the phone when it's not in the corporate network. For example, when you use Mass 360 from the cloud, the logs are fed into QRadar. But in this particular case, it is a phone that got into the corporate network, and we have a strong suspicion that has been jailbroken. How do we know that? As usual, we go on an offense and display the rule to see why this offense actually fire. And we see there are actually two rules. One is, well, it contacted a site with a reputation for delivering malware. That's not good. It's actually even worse, because not only the phone has been jailbroken, but probably because of that iPhone was easily compromised and access the corporate network. The most important rule is actually this one, which shows the value of the QFlow. When we look at it, well, we see that the network is the wireless network. It did a DNS bind, and that's the port 53. And the destination payload contained the word Cydia, which is the name of the jailbroken store for iPhones. How was QRadar to look at that? In fact, we could have looked for any other content. If we click in here, we could put whatever content is here. Well, and that's precisely the value that the flows, and particularly QFlows, bring. If we look here at the flows that contributed to this offense, we can see that there are 417. Let's take just the first one or the second one. It doesn't really matter. And in here we see that in the payload, QRadar was actually, is looking at the content of the payload, and here's some data that makes sense, and it found the word Cydia in it. So again, this is the value of the QFlows that can inspect any content, can look for credit card numbers, you can look for whatever piece of data is on the actual first 64 bytes of the payload, and you can actually configure that to make it more than 64 bytes or less than 64 bytes, depending on what you want to see. And this is without doing the forensic piece that we have shown in other videos. This is just looking with standard QFlows.